At scaleupmastery.com, we seek to empower business owners wanting to scale their businesses through winning strategies and operational scalability by providing useful content from the perspective of business growth in terms of mindset, skill sets, and tool sets. Based on your requests, we invite experts in that sector to explore and discuss areas of interest to you. Today, we have the honor of having with us Mr. Davy Wee, Chief Strategy Officer at Seoul Garden Group, and previously CEO at the Manhattan Fish Market, part of the Revenue Valley Group, as well as MD at POSB DBS. Davy was also the Director of Management Services, Director of Operations, Regional Supply Chain at McDonald's. Hello, Davy. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so honored to have you with us today. You know, in the time that I've been spending in franchise, I've met a lot of F&B experts, operations managers, business owners, and a lot of them have crossed your path in their career at one time or the other. And I would say, in short, that you have been a mentor and coach to so many people in the F&B sector, and you've been such an influence in their careers. Over the years, I've met so many people, and a lot of the F&B managers and experts and today business owners, even though they have gone their separate ways, a lot of them credit their success in the F&B industry to the F&B operational smarts that you have shared with them. So today, I really hope that we will be able to dive a little bit into this topic of operations audits and operations compliance. So first of all, what is compliance management?
Okay, compliance is management is allowing certain individual or department the ability to visit operation to ensure the standards and processes, standard system are in place, right? So we break it into two parts. One I would call it a little bit more official and more strictly compliance per se, where somebody comes in with a checklist and go through the various section of operation like legal, halal, marketing, training, food safety, hygiene, whether the personnel's records are there. That's done generally once or twice a year by an independent party, but you can always mix it with some internal people on a regular basis. But the other part of it is the 365 days where the official compliance is done. There's this 363 days where you have to do your own checklist. For example, an opening of the restaurant. There are certain compliance that you need to do before you even come and open a restaurant, or when you are about to start the restaurant. There are certain compliance that you need to do. Just as an example. Then there's other compliance that you need to do, for example, doing proper scheduling, right? To make sure you have enough people, the right people, and that you are also complying to some maintenance standard on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly basis.
In the Skill Up Mastery for F&B, we actually do look at the different aspects of operations excellence because of the depth of the topic. Today, we will probably focus a little bit on compliance and the positive aspects of compliance, because I know of a lot of very successful F&B businesses acknowledge that compliance is important. They know that standards are important. But, given the very tight manpower scene, the very competitive nature of, the external factors that impact our businesses, sometimes compliance can be noted as important, but a little bit more difficult to exercise on a diligent basis. Given it seems an important but seemingly not urgent nor mission critical area of business operations, what are your thoughts on compliance in terms of operations?
Let's define a little bit on compliance evaluation. So the whole purpose of a compliance evaluation is to evaluate an organization's practices in relation to the rules and standards it abides by. So the compliance evaluation examines how thoroughly and consistently an organization is implementing the correct standard and procedure that allow it to follow the necessary guideline. Not to forget, compliance evaluation are not done frequently. It's a bit like taking an exam. You only do it once a year, twice a year, maybe. So it's only at one point in time. But the fundamental behind the compliance evaluation actually rests in the process as well as the tool, which we for better words, I will use the checklist. And for someone who comes up with the correct process and the checklist, it is both an art and a science. And compliance is not about pass, fail, or how much score you do. It is about using this to keep raising the standard to meet and exceed customer expectation, which is changing over time. Okay, so even on compliance evaluation, there are various ways. One is announced, one is unannounced, and then there is external and internal evaluation. Each organization, each change, each brand must decide the permutation and the combination that suits them.
I can appreciate that. In theory, it sounds like compliance evaluation is very important. But yet, in practice, I have noticed that actually it's not something that every business is able to upkeep. And again, I'm not sure about how every business does it. Is there somebody that should be in charge of these audit evaluations and compliance, and who might that be?
Only based on my experience with maybe 10 to 12 organizations, which may not represent the whole F&B industry. But I think 10 to 12 is fairly good sample.
Substantial, yes.
I would say the compliance generally should report straight to the CEO or the COO, who is independent of the operation team or any other department. Just like internal audit department of a bank or internal audit of a company, it is always an independent department reporting straight to the C-suite. Many organizations choose not to do that. They choose to put it under operation, and hence the police and thief are in the same department.
Very good point. I was just going to mention that I have some clients who actually have, let me think, so let's say there are 12 outlets. So we have the store managers of each outlet round robining and auditing each other. When that happens, everybody's score is actually quite good, but it does not actually reflect the actual situation that is on the ground. So would that qualify as the thief and the police being in the same?
Maybe wrong, not a very good word to use, but my point is that because we are within the same department, it's a lot harder to do the check and balance. The reason why one outlet or one particular location or area manager is doing the other, they were hoping for some independence. But structurally, this is really difficult unless it's really an independent department who has no impact. If they discover something or they uncover something or say something, they are really free to say what they saw.
In the field of audit, right? So not every evaluation is created equal, and some are more important than others. Do you think that companies should prioritize certain areas over others, or should they like complete the entire suite of evaluations for compliance?
Well, compliance standards is exhaustive. It's like saying you need to meet 10 criteria, but you want to do 7. I think that's probably difficult. It's also difficult to say you're in full compliance when you only focus on 3 or 4 and say that because of that, I'm able to meet my customer satisfaction and I'm able to meet my company's goal. I think that's not really possible.
So there are risk factors that are involved, right? If you actually only focus on some areas over others that
Definitely,
impact the company
definitely,
negatively in the big
right,
picture. Yeah. Compliance is not just about planning, scheduling, and conducting, right? It's also about making sure that there are corrective actions. Everybody knows what needs to be done. So it's not just about the score, right? It's about the continuous improvement
right.
towards a set goal. In that case, so there's the auditor who reports to the C-suite. What happens on a practical level when there are already like corrective actions that need to be implemented? What is the follow-up after the evaluation?
I would say there will be some already agreed rules and guideline. Like for example, if there are certain things that are deemed as very critical, like not following halal or not following food safety, they will be deemed as something that needs to be rectified within certain number of days. And then there will be certain area where you can give them a little bit more time. Like for example, maybe some of the training of the staff, they are not competent enough. And as a result of that, they will not be able to perform certain duties correctly. And then those will be given a little bit more time.
Do you think that the individuals who are involved in each of the outlets, how accountable do you think each player in the outlet can be for the outcome of the evaluation? Or is it always the manager's fault, or is it always the business owner's responsibility?
Okay, it goes back to individual KPI or individual's performance evaluation criteria. But because this is not spelled clearly, everybody then think it's not inside their performance evaluation, and then that becomes a problem. So for the companies that I've dealt with, I pay a lot of particular attention to something that I've created called a scorecard. It's like a report card. Whether you are in primary school, secondary school, or tertiary, you get a report card on the area that matters to your job role and responsibility. From there, it will be spelled very clearly. So, for example, under 4 segments, and one of the segments could be operation excellence. And in the operation excellence, you have to pass. You have
Right.
to meet a certain criteria, whether internally or externally, announced or unannounced. I repeat this because the the official one, so to speak, the official one is done usually once or twice a year, but there's 365 days of operation excellence. That's why it is being coupled with internal as well as unannounced. So it depends very much back to the scorecard. If the head of operation have nothing to do with compliance, they will not pay attention. If the restaurant manager don't pay attention, it's not inside his scorecard, he will not pay attention. If the kitchen staff do not have it in his scorecard, he will not pay attention. So the famous rule, what's measured gets done. What's not measured will not get done.
That's so true. When I was interviewing somebody from the group, they have a similar methodology where, there is the overarching performance criteria that gets passed on to each property, and each property then have their various departments, and then the department heads will then have that carry
Right.
that same KPI that then
Yeah.
cascades all the way down to the individual. As a practice in the F&B sector, there should really be I guess a framework that maybe can help F&B managers. And it sounds like you already have developed that in your performance scorecard with
Yes.
the companies that you have been working with. Am I
Yes.
am I just guessing,
Yes.
or is this
Yes.
actually a
Yes.
fact that you have already implemented?
I mean, I've done that with many companies, but one of the one of the shortfall is that because it's a bit more administrative, because you need to pull a lot of data, and you don't really want the individual to pull the data and put it into his report card. You want integrity of the data, so you need system to pull. So let's say, for example, the compliance done their part, they enter into the system, it gets popped out into their scorecard.
So,
Yeah.
Davy, I'm going to have to show you 3AMS's scorecard perhaps we could work on something and maybe pick on your brains to actually improve the way
Sure,
these scorecards are being utilized, and maybe share
sure.
some of the knowledge that you have with some of the F&B players already in the market. I think
Right.
that it will save them a lot of time and effort in terms of collating the data. A tool is just a tool. It's actually the wisdom that goes behind the framework. I think
Mm.
that really captures the beauty of operational excellence. In terms of the insights that are provided, how should the C-suite be looking at the data that is being provided? Is it just okay, yes, we passed, okay, we didn't do well? How do we use the data that's collected and then making their businesses really improve and capture opportunities?
Sadly, I would say many of the C-suites do not even give time to look at the compliance evaluation report. Sadly, and if they do, they just look for the number, pass or fail. If you truly want to leverage on the effort done, I would say it also depends quite a fair bit on the compliance department head, how to turn the reports that they have done over months into something that they can see a pattern and highlight the issues and opportunity so that they can recommend to the C-suite how to further strengthen the standards. In operation, we always talk about PEP, people, equipment, product, on people, for example. Many moons ago, maybe staffing is less of an issue. You can get more local Singaporean. In fact, you have to rely quite a fair bit on foreigners. Language becomes an issue, and as a result of that, you will see that a lot of the compliance cannot be met because the individual do not understand and may not be able to understand because certain modules are too lengthy and certain modules are very wordy. So all this has to be changed in order to allow a different breed of staff. My good old McDonald's day, 35 years ago or 40 years ago, whereby we started getting uncles and aunties to help out. We realized that everything in words must be converted to pictures. So trying to enter French fry on the cashier, you don't spell, you just show the icon of French fry. So you change that. Where I'm coming back again is that the compliance team, having seen so many, a lot of it cannot be captured in the report, but they are able to analyze it in their head, and how do they then spit it out as a management recommendation.
So it sounds a little bit like we need to seek root cause as well, right? I mean, so it's not
Correct.
just the score, but it's
Right.
actually, hey, why are they consistently not making the mark? And then if
Right.
they go back one step, then they'll find out, hey, actually, it was because they don't even understand the intent of this action to begin with.
Correct.
And then what can we do to solve that, right?
Yes.
So I think that is a really brilliant insight. Can I just take it one step further though, or one step backwards? Is the fact
Sure.
that what you're sharing now comes with simple and deep experience, simple execution of deep experience. Do you have anything to share with auditors
No,
from this
not, not,
perspective?
nothing beats putting your hand and leg on the ground. If you want to check on something or you want to see whether they're in compliance, you yourself must go through all the ropes, go to a few outlets, try to be a crew, try to be a kitchen staff, try to be a service staff, try to be a shift manager. Nobody says that you need to be there for 4 years, but you must be there enough time. I would say around 1, 2 months at least for you to sort of put your legs and hands and eyes and heart to go and pick out what makes this particular chain or outlet ticks and how do they make money and what the standards are. Be on the ground, do it so that when you are doing the compliance check, it's a lot easier.
Wow. So this actually sounds like some of my franchisors actually expect the franchisees to spend time being on the ground, running the outlet, chopping prawns and boiling stock, and making sure that they know how operation works, so that when they have their employees, they can maybe understand the job scope, not be held hostage by their team. At the same time, also be able to save themselves when the staff sort of give them a little bit more headaches than they're supposed to. So does that sound a little bit like what you think even an auditor should really go through?
Definitely, I think there is this culture in some F&B whereby once a quarter, once in every 6 months, or once a year, and whatever position you are, you go to the outlet and run and be part of the operation for 1 day, 2 days, so that people know that you're always grounded.
Actually, it's not that the outlet needs it, but rather the stakeholder, the business owner needs
Correct.
to have that exposure, because the benefits are all intangible, but it goes a
Yes.
long way, right?
Yes.
Before I let you go, Davy, since we are talking about the C-suite and the CEO, is there something that you want to leave a parting word for
Sure.
them to like food for thought?
What I would say is this: operation excellence, let me take it at a broader level, it's not a statement to be hung into a poster. Operation excellence is also not the job of operation only. As I said earlier, it is about the whole organization. Compliance evaluation is an art and a science. Make sure it is well crafted and aligned and led by the CEO. Compliance evaluation is not an end by itself for quality operation management to meet and exceed customer satisfaction, because F&B industry must implement a total quality operation management excellence system, standard and process. So compliance evaluation is just part of the total system.
Okay, thank you very much, Davy.
Thank you.
If you have any topics you think will be helpful to accelerate your business scalability, we would be very, very happy to seek out experts in that area and invite them to share on our scaleupmastery.com channel. If you have a question for any of our panelists directly, please go to scaleupmastery.com and ask away. If you have topics you think others may be interested in, please let us know. We will poll and see if this is a useful topic for other people in the community as well. See you soon!